I decided to track the best selling car brands in the last 5 years. You might already know who number 1 is, but it was a very close race with number 2, and I don't think you're going to guess who that one is. The first thing I did was track every US car brand that was being sold in 2019 and is still being sold today. That is 34 total car brands in the United States. Of those 34 brands, 24 brands had negative sales when compared to 2019. If you want to see that video, check out the description box. I have that link below. But of the 10 brands that did have positive sales, 3 of them did not even have major growth, 5 had decent growth, and then 2 of them were off the charts. So here's that first graph showing pure volume, and then the next graph will be the percent change when it was compared to 2019, and that's how we're going to identify who the top 5 best-selling brands are. But for volume, just take a guess who these top 3 brands are. Number 1 went from 200,000 sales to roughly 650,000 sales in just 5 years. Let's do that reveal, and that brand is Tesla. I don't think this is too much of a surprise for most people, but behind Tesla, you actually have Hyundai, then Mazda, Genesis, and finally BMW. Now for a quick disclaimer, in case any of you try to fact check me, my Tesla numbers are not exact. For whatever reason, Tesla has not released their Q4 US sales numbers. So I had to extrapolate from their first 3 quarters, but I'm sure it's gonna be pretty close to these numbers. Now going back to the chart, I actually was not expecting Chrysler to be on this list. Chrysler only has 2 vehicles, and the minivan is actually responsible for 90% of its sales. But how does the volume chart look when it's graphed as a percentage compared to 2019? Because that's how we're going to identify who the best selling car brands are. So here are your brand options from the previous graph, and try to guess who those top 5 players are. And we'll do the reveal right now. No surprise here, but Tesla is number 1, with Genesis actually taking that number 2 spot. Personally, I'm kind of surprised by these results. Of these 10 brands, I would consider these 7 brands as luxury brands. And then Mazda has kind of found this fun niche where they are more of an upscale economy brand. Chrysler is dying, so no one cares, which means Hyundai actually stands out as the single economy car brand that is seeing increased growth. Comment below on your thoughts as to why luxury brands are seeing increased growth and not the basic car companies. Tesla being number 1 at 240% growth is no surprise. Tesla has seen growth every year in the last 5 years. Despite EVs having issues selling to the average consumer, Tesla seems to be the exception to that rule. For me, number 2 is kind of a surprise, but it does make a little bit of sense when you dig into it. The brand came to the United States in 2017, so with it being so new, it's easy to have fast growth, especially when you look at their SUVs. They released their SUVs in 2021, which is exactly when Genesis started to pop off in sales. This is also a good time to bring up their sister company, which is Hyundai. Hyundai is really the only mass-produced economy car brand on this list, and it had a 16% growth. So the fact that both Hyundai and Genesis saw growth in the last 5 years, to me shows that the Koreans know what they're doing with their designs and also how they market in the United States. Number 3 is Mazda at 31%. This is probably my favorite story on the list. You have a company that built a marketing image around JDM race and drift cars with people playing the Tokyo Drift song in the background. Mazda had the Miata, the RX-7, the RX-8, and then the Mazda 6. But that niche started to die out around 2010 when everyone started switching to SUVs. So Mazda had to drastically change their image and their brand in order to fit that evolving market. And I don't know if everyone appreciates how hard it is to do something like that. It would be like if Ram switched from trucks to suddenly selling environmentally friendly sedans. And yet somehow Mazda did it. They switched from tuner-friendly performance cars to this semi-luxury crossover and SUV brand. They managed to change their image so well that 2023 was actually their best sales year ever in the United States. This is despite all the supply chain issues, the interest rates, high car prices, etc. Mazda still found a way to make this their best year. Number 4 is Porsche at 23%. After hyping up Mazda, I don't want to oversimplify the success of Porsche, but Porsche basically took advantage of the luxury SUV market. 64% of Porsche's sales came from the Macan or the Cayenne, and that's where their success is. Porsche knows when you line up their brand against BMW, Audi, Lexus, or Acura, people's eyebrows will raise when they hear the word Porsche. So Porsche refined their full-sized SUV, and then they created a smaller crossover that is somewhat affordable to the upper middle class. And just like that, they started stealing business from the luxury SUV market, because your orthodontist and his trophy wife, who know nothing about vehicles, they want to tell their friends that they drive a Porsche. Finally, we have number 5 on the list, which is Volvo at 19%. I didn't think that we would see Volvo on this list. Sometimes I kind of forget Volvo exists, but they have some handsome looking SUVs. They have a reputation for safety, so I think that's why people have been buying them. And that's the video, and here's the full data on the brands that we just talked about, with their annual sales every year since 2019. I'm still interested though in your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Check out my other video that I did for worst selling car brands, and I'll catch you next time.